In this video, I'm going to go through the assignment called Solid Primitives. So this is the information page or the instruction page. I'm going to shift over to Rhino. All right, I'm in Rhino right now, and I'm going to go to File, New. And in version 7, you can pick either the feet and inches, or the inches, feet, and inches. I'll pick this first one and say open. All right, in this exercise, we are just going to be playing around with some of the primitives. So the primitives are a series of shapes that basically are basic geometric figures: box, cylinder, sphere, donut, cone, etc. So what we'll do is we'll create a series of these shapes, and then as a way of practicing kind of moving things around in the Rhino space, we will stack them up along a vertical axis. So the first part of this is really just to create a bunch of shapes. Doesn't matter really what they are. All I would say is that this should be relatively the same size. So you could start with, let's say, a box, and maybe initiate it in the top view and give it some dimension. In this view, I'm going to go to the ghosted visual style just so I can see some of the surfaces, but yet I can still see through it. So create at least 6 different types, and they should all be slightly different. So let's start a little sphere here, and I'll do a cone. And it doesn't matter where you place them because you're going to be moving them. Let's try a truncated pyramid. And you can explore like how you can make that have a different height, maybe one more flatness on the top. Not what we're making here. Probably the ones that have an actual vertical alignment. Okay, here we go. So I can make it a little bit wider, or I can make it a little narrower here. Like a truncated cone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see, what else should I do? Let's try maybe just the typical pyramid with a point. I can change the number of sides right away. 4-sided pyramid this time. Okay, so now I've got these 6 shapes, and what I'm going to do is stack them all up vertically. All right, now I'm in the front view here, and I have ortho on. You may want to turn it on as well, because we're going to try to generate a vertical line. But I'm going to type in L for line, and I'll make my start point 0, 0, and then press Enter, so you can see where I am, 0, 0, and I'm going to pan up a little bit. This is going to end up being kind of tall, and I want to be able to see that axis. I may have to add more to that line, but for now, let's leave it as it is. Okay. Now this one, you may have to turn on and off some of the object snaps, depending on what you're trying to locate or move. Another thing that you may need to do for some of them is, let's say, for example, I'll start with my my box form. If I want to place that at the end point here, I may need to generate a line across the middle of this so that I can place it accurately. Again, the idea is to control through precision, the placement of these, and particularly using the object snap tools. So I'm going to create another line. I'm going to draw it across. This is one of the reasons why I wanted to do the ghosted visual style, so I could kind of see through it. And I'm going to type an M for move. I'm going to select the object, press enter. And right now it's not finding the midpoint. So I'm going to come down to the object snaps and turn it on. Come back to that line, and I'll move it from there to the end point of that vertical line that I made. I'll just kind of rotate around so we can see it a little bit better. Okay. Now that line that I made is still there. I don't need it. I'm going to delete it. So again, you may have to construct lines as necessary as you start to stack some of these forms. So I'll make a line across the top of it this time. Now what I'm going to do is move that sphere so it's sitting with its bottom point at the midpoint of the box. Okay. Now to do that, I'm going to need to turn on the quad object snap. Okay. So let's do this. M for move. Pick the sphere. Press enter. Now, again, I want to be at the bottom of it. So that's why it's useful to have all of these viewports visible on the screen, because I can see where the bottom is in the front viewport, but I can also look at the other viewports. And from there, I can tell, okay, it's found the right quad point. It's not looking at the top quad point. If I want the top one, I may have to go to one of the other views. Okay, but again, you want to kind of check and make sure, because you're working in 3D, that you have selected the point that you intended to. So I'll come back down here. That looks good. And now I'm going over back to the 3D view, and I'm going to place it on top. Okay, there we go. We have it sitting precisely on top of the box. And I will continue to go around and place the other elements. If I want to put this cone on top of the sphere, I basically am going to need to select the center point of that surface. So center is already checked. And I can move, pick the cone. I will hover until it's found the center, which it has. Again, I'm looking at the other viewports to check and make sure. Right. Now I'm going to orbit around and place it on the quadrant point of the sphere. Okay. Now the next one has a pentagon on the bottom. So what's considered the center of that? It's your call, I suppose. Maybe I'll draw a line from this intersection here to the midpoint, and I'll call that the middle, or the center of my axis point. So I have endpoint, and I'm going to midpoint. I have something to snap to. So it's on top of the grid that was already on the face, so it's going to be a little hard to read, but I will type an M for move. One. Find the midpoint. And then while I'm still in that move command, it's a little tricky. Another thing that this exercise will do is maybe help you to kind of get accustomed a little bit to panning and orbiting around when you're already in another command. Zoom into the top here, and I'm in another line with this line here. Don't do that any longer. L for line, and I'll go from midpoint or from endpoint to midpoint. And let's see, what do I have left for these shapes? How about my truncated cone? We'll move that. This center point. Zoom out here. And I'm going to use zoom, orbit, pan, and there's the midpoint. All right. One last form. And again, I'm going to construct a line across the bottom so I have something to grab. Move the object, midpoint. And I will place that on the center. And that's really it. I'm going to check in my front view. Everything looks like it's stacked. I think that Pentagon shape is maybe throwing things off a little bit. Okay, from here you will maybe clean it up a little bit. I would leave the vertical line, but basically you're going to be making a screenshot. So try to get a view where we're seeing it almost in orthographic view or elevation view, but just enough to sort of suggest that we can see how the stacking is working. This might be a nice view to capture. That's it.